Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news making headlines today. South Korea's National Security Advisor Ri Song-nak, who is currently visiting the U.S., said the two sides have agreed to quickly implement follow-up measures to the country's joint fact sheet. Ri said this while talking to the media on Thursday local time, after completing his two-day schedule in Washington, D.C. He said there was progress in consultations with the U.S., though it was difficult to say which areas saw concrete achievements. Ri's visit to the U.S. started Tuesday, and he met with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the day of his arrival, and then Secretary of Energy Chris Wright the following day. He will continue his visit by traveling to New York to meet with UN officials before returning to South Korea. On the economic front, producer prices rose for the third consecutive month in November, driven by the weak Korean won and strong demand for semiconductors. According to the Bank of Korea on Friday, the producer price index for November stood at 121.31, up 0.3% from the previous month. This followed a 0.4% increase in September and 0.3% in October. In detail, prices of industrial goods rose 0.8% month-on-month, led by increases in coal and petroleum products, up 5%, and computers, electronic and optical equipment, which rose 2.3%. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2026, an annual bill that authorizes military spending after it was passed by both chambers of Congress. The bill approves a defense budget of $901 billion, about $8 billion more than requested by the administration. A key provision bars the use of defense funds to reduce U.S. troops in South Korea below the current level of 28,500. The funding restriction, which had been absent during the Biden administration, returns under Trump's second term for the first time in 5 years. The bill also reaffirms the U.S. nuclear umbrella commitment to Seoul and restricts funding for the transfer of wartime operational control to a South Korea-led command to prevent the transfer process from deviating from the agreed framework. Trade between North Korea and China rebounded last month to the highest level in 6 years. North Korea monitoring website NK News, citing the Chinese Customs Service, reported that trade between the two reached $281 million in November. This marks the highest figure since October 2019, when the trade totaled $287 million. China exported various machinery to the regime in recent months, including medical devices and agricultural machinery. Notably, a vehicle banned from being traded under UN Security Council resolutions was also found to have been transferred to North Korea. Following 2 delays, South Korean space launch startup Space is attempting the country's first commercial launch of a privately developed rocket. The company plans to launch its Hanbin nanorocket at 3:45 p.m. on Friday local time from the Alcantara Space Center in Brazil. The mission, called Spaceward, aims to place 8 payloads into a 300-kilometer orbit, including 5 small satellites from Brazil and India, and 3 experimental devices. The launch was postponed last month after abnormal avionics signals were detected, and again this week due to a cooling system issue in the first stage. Space says the faulty parts have been replaced and the rocket is now ready for liftoff. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.